When it comes to mini virtual pinball machines, the AtGames Legends Pinball Micro almost does it all, but one thing it's missing is a plunger. That's right, AtGames released this product and it just has a push-button launcher. And in this particular tutorial and guide video, I'm going to show you how easy it is to install a plunger into your AtGames Legends Pinball Micro using a product kit from Idaho 3D Printing and Designs. They are a small company on Etsy, and I'll have links to the listing in the video description below for you to check out. When it comes to their pinball kit, this plunger kit is $55. I gotta tell you something, guys. Pay for this out of my own pocket. The mod itself took me maybe about 20-25 minutes to install, and it was totally worth it. As you can see here, we only have a few pieces, 4 or 5 pieces that we need to install. Then we need to just take off the monitor, remove a button or two, connect some wires. It's pretty simple, and we're gonna dive into it right after this. Okay, let's do this. Step number 1, grab a Phillips head screwdriver and remove the 4 screws that are on the front rail on the pinball machine. There are 2 screws in the front, 2 screws on the sides and the corners. Remove all those screws and the front rail should come off. Okay, step number 2, with the front rail removed, now we need to remove the side rails. Each of the side rails on both sides of the pinball machine should have 3 screws remaining holding those rails in. All you have to do is remove those screws, and you can get the rail removed like so. Don't lose your screws. Okay, step number 3, the monitor is held in place with 4 silver screws at the corners. These screws are a bit larger than the screws that are in the side rails and the front rail. Go ahead and remove all 4 of these screws. However, do not lift the monitor out yet until I show you some additional details here in the next step. But go ahead and remove all 4 screws that are holding the monitor in place. Okay, on to step number 4, where we're going to disconnect and remove the monitor. From the base of the monitor, you're going to want to slide it down a little bit so it gets out from under the lip of the back box. Once you do that, you'll notice that it feels very snug, very tight. Do not try to rip off or remove the monitor fast. You will seriously damage your machine. There are 4 cables connected to the monitor that need to be unplugged for you to remove it. You should be able to tilt the monitor gently on one side like so, and it'll be very obvious what the 4 wires are. 2 of the wires are long white cables plugged into the PCB and encoder board. You're going to want to unplug those wires directly on those green encoder boards inside the unit. The red and black power wire, you're going to unplug from the PCB board as well. It might be beneficial to have somebody help you and hold the monitor. As you saw right there, I dropped the monitor inside the machine and it banged against the PCB board. And I was like, oh crap, did I just break everything? Stressful situation, but trust me, everything's doable. So you're going to want to go ahead and remove these white cables that are connected from the monitor to the PCB boards inside the cabinet. Make sure you disconnect them from the PCB boards. It's the easiest way to do it. The red and black power cable, this one right here, I'm sorry, the LVDS cable that goes to the monitor, you're going to want to peel the tape at the top, and when you peel the tape at the top, you're going to disconnect this cable. Obviously, you're going to want to be very gentle with this cable when you're removing it as well as putting it in. Just remember that the red wires always go to the right when you have this mounted in its proper place. The red wires go to the right. Once you get all 4 cables unhooked, you can remove the monitor. Okay, step number 5, we need to remove the 2 red buttons on the right-hand side of the pinball cabinet. These are the plunger buttons as well as the flipper button. One neat little trick that I found is pushing up those little rubber tabs that are protecting the little connector pieces here. Use a little ballpoint pen, that way you can push up on the little tab on the cable wires, and that'll easily make the connectors pop out and remove. If you have long fingernails, you might not need to use a ballpoint pen, but a ballpoint pen always works for me, and everything comes off really, really easily. Now we need to unscrew the nut caps that are holding these red buttons in place. They're going to be on there super tight, so you're going to have to really twist hard with your left hand and hold the button with your right hand like so to get the nuts off of there, those black nuts, as well as to pull the buttons out of the hole. And again, we're removing both of these red buttons completely, and we're going to get ready to install our plunger next. Okay, step number 6, we're going to prep our plunger for installation. Now, I'm guessing the bolts and the washers were already put on here by Idaho printing companies so they don't get lost in the envelope during shipping. So what you want to do is grab your plunger, and if it came just like mine did, where everything was already screwed in here, go ahead and unscrew that nut at the bottom as well as the 2 washers, but leave that black rubber spacer where it is. Okay, step number 7, we're going to install the plunger. So we're going to go ahead and insert this into the arcade cabinet. I'm going to drop the washers and bolt inside the pinball cabinet here. That way I have easy access to them. Go ahead and just stick this all the way through until it won't go forward anymore. That is the black spacer holding it in place. Make sure the plunger is underneath any of the wires for the existing buttons and things like that. Make sure it's underneath any wires. At this point, you're going to go ahead and thread the 2 washers that came included back up the plunger stick like so. There's 2 of them. And once you get both of those washers up the stick, you're going to go ahead and then get that nut and thread that up the plunger stick and screw it into place, and that'll lock and hold the plunger into its final position. If you have big hands or long fingers like me, it might be a little hard to get in here and work and get that nut twisted, but if you give it time and patience, it's going to happen. Okay, that brings us to step number 8. We're going to install our button again, the flipper button that we removed on the side panel. But why did we remove it in the first place? Well, there's this extra part that comes with your kit that I'm holding in my hand right here. This has got the magnetic sensor and connectors that are going to trigger the plunger when you want to use it during gameplay. So first thing first, you're going to want to go ahead and get this lined up in the hole with the magnetic sensor pointed towards the bottom, adjacent to the bottom tip of the plunger. Go ahead and stick your button through, and once your button is through, you're going to go ahead and use the nut that originally held the button in place and screw everything together. The black nut that originally came with that button is going to hold that magnetic sensor in place. As you can see, I have it directly adjacent to the plunger on the bottom. Once you get that done, man, it's time to start wiring this thing up, and we'll be able to get this plunger up and running. Go ahead and give your plunger a test pull to make sure everything's lined up. Okay, step number 9, we're going to reconnect the wires that we originally unplugged. The blue wire and the black wire that you removed from the flipper button, you can go ahead and now plug back into the flipper button connectors. Give it a nice firm push. You'll hear it kind of click into place. Also, go ahead and push those rubber connector covers down the wires as well. That way they kind of, protect that connection, etc. But this one's pretty easy, just doing the flipper button, reconnecting those red and blue wires. I'm sorry, black and blue wires. But you'll notice that that sensor that we just installed inside of the pinball machine, using the flipper to hold it in place, it's got a couple of wires connected to it. You'll see these right here, these red connectors right here. Well, we need to connect these to the original plunger wires that we unplugged from the plunger button. It's very simple. Go ahead and connect the black wire to the black wire and connect the white wire to the red wire. It's very simple. All you gotta do is push them hard together, get them connected. They might click into place, they might not. You should hopefully hear a nice little click. Once you get them clicked into place, pull down those rubber connectors to kind of also help hold the connections in place. But that's it. That's all it. That's it. We're done, baby. We're ready to fire this thing up. We're ready to reconnect our side rails, connect all of our wires, put the cabinet back together, power this thing on, and give it a go. Go ahead and plug those 4 wires back into the monitor, and go ahead and sit the monitor in here. You'll notice I don't have the monitor screwed in on the corners, as well as I don't have the side rails put in yet. But as you can see, I just gave it a test run, and it worked! That's right, the pinball machine went flying up, it launched, this plunger is working, fully functional, and it's super, super cool. Let's go ahead and take a look at this again. Again, I would recommend at least getting the monitor plugged in, and before you screw the rails and everything together, you give it this test run and make sure that it works. As you can see there, I did more of a gentle plunge right there. Let's give it some force, and boom, it went all the way up and down. So now my plunger works for all my pinball games. Pretty awesome, man. Also, check your flipper button and make sure your flipper is working the way it should, that you connected that correctly as well. So final thoughts, once everything's put back together, the pinball machine looks absolutely awesome with this Idaho 3D printing and design plunger mod installed. I think they did a fantastic job with this. $55, very well spent. I'm so happy I got this. I think it makes this pinball machine look more complete. Absolutely recommend this mod. If you guys enjoyed this video and are interested in this mod, link to get this product is in the video description below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this step-by-step tutorial. Let me know your thoughts, feedback, reactions below, and if you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up on the way out. And as always, my dudes, thank you for subscribing.